welcome to the show. And today we're going to be talking about a specific set of movies, the d.c.e.u. And I'm going to give you my notes on how I would have done them better. I would have left Man of Steel alone. Man of Steel was great. It showed a dark, desolate world in need of help. I mean, hope. Isn't that what Superman's supposed to stand for? It could have been him bringing hope to this dark, gloomy world. Plus, the whole alien invasion aspect of it was great. It could have showed the world that he was in, that's supposed to be grounded like ours, that, hey, aliens are out there. What the hell? Why didn't we know? And it would have segued into everything else a lot easier. Get to our first main deviant in my DC timeline from theirs. I would have had a Batman Assault on Arkham movie. It would have been easy to make, not a whole lot in sets, because, it would have mainly taken place on Arkham. It would have showed Gotham for a minute. He could have been bringing down someone like the Joker, like in the Arkham games. Or if you want to leave that out because you had the Suicide Squad movie planned, you could have had him catching Harley Quinn or Killer Croc or even Deadshot. It could have started with him catching one of those characters. And then, it could have segued into the rest of the movie, which was the whole takeover of Arkham. You had the Assault on Arkham movie. You had all those Arkham games. It could have been him fighting his rogues gallery, especially because Batman is supposed to have this rich history already that we just weren't aware of in the Man of Steel movie. It could have showed you that, through each of the villains he fought and took down and what have you. And after all of that, it would have had a 15-minute little, what happened after the movie. And it could have been him in Metropolis seeing everything that happened in Man of Steel. And you could have had this scene earlier in the movie with the whole We Are Not Alone thing that Zod did. You could have had it show up on the back computers and all this other shit. You could have melded those movies together to where they were taking place at the same time. And then at the end of the movie, you could have had the beginning of Batman vs. Superman, where it shows Ben Affleck running into the building, because that was an amazing, epic opening to Bruce Wayne. Yes, it was wonderful. It was heartfelt. You could just... Ben Affleck poured us all into that shit. And it would have been great if it would have taken place after an initial Batman movie. Not in BVS, but right before it. Leading up to them meeting for the first time. Now 3. If you wanted to do the Batman vs. Superman movie, there was a lot of other ways you could have done it. You could have had, like I said, you could have had the Batman in Metropolis trying to figure it all out. You could have had Lex Luthor trying to pit Batman versus Superman like he did in the movie, but you could have told it better, more cohesively. You could have added more substance to it. That was what that movie lacked, was substance. You had Superman. You had him coming freshly out of his movie to where he found some sort of hope in his love Lois Lane and, wanted to bring hope and fix the world. But in Batman versus Superman, it seemed like he was the same guy that was walking through the Alps at the first of Man of Steel. It seemed like none of the character's progression made a damn. It was just back at the start. No, he should have been the more hopeful Superman. No, I got this. I can do this. And every time Lex Luthor did something to, make him break, instead of making him go, oh, I don't know. You could have had that in the movie, but you could have had it after he was already doing Superman things and showing the world the bright, wonderfulness of himself. And the whole MacGuffin of that movie could have been, Ben Affleck. The whole party scene was actually pretty good, how they met in person. after he got that file, you could have had the whole underlining plot of the Wonder Woman trying to figure out who the hell she is, but you could have left out the scene with the little all of the little footages of Aquaman, Cyborg, the Flash. You could have peppered those in all throughout other things, like in the Batman movie, like right after he arrested the first villain before it segued. You could have showed him in the Bat computer, like in the Bat cave, putting all of his gear on, getting ready to go bust the first person that he busted, and had like a flash, like that whole security system footage, or the Aquamans. Either one's, it doesn't matter. You could have had one of them playing on the background in the Bat computer, and you could have had Alfred going, Mr. Wayne, you should see this. And he could have been like, I'll check it out when I get back. And then took off to go, you know, assault on Arkham. And then, like in Blade, not Blade. Why did I think Blade? Oh, yeah, because I was, I was thinking Batman versus Superman is the Trinity movie. Because it should have just been called Super Friends or something by this point. But, I mean, Batman versus Superman, you could have had their story going where they were getting pitted against each other and buying into it, and Diana dancing around both of them all throughout the movie, and you can't figure out who the hell she is. I mean, of course, us as fans already know who she is. But then the scene, I mean, the rest of it could have played out pretty similar to how it did in the movie, with the picture and then who are you, blah, blah, blah. And then she shows up at the end to fight the big threat whenever Bruce and Clark join forces. But did it have to be Doomsday? I mean, come on. But you know what? I ain't even mad at it. If you wanted to go that route, that's fine. I mean, because you do have to have a reason for them to split up to have that badass Batman scene that we got. And I just think it would have been better as a more grounded threat. Like, it could have been a normal man, so Bruce could have fought him. But then he could have found kryptonite or been infused with kryptonite so that it would have been harder for Superman to fight. And then you have a reason for Wonder Woman to be there too. Like, it could have been Metallo. Metallo would have been great. It did not have to be Doomsday. Doomsday should have been saved for a Justice League movie. And that whole ending with killing Superman would have been phenomenal. It would have had more gravitas, more weight to it, more substance. Like Superman dying at the end of the Doomsday, like at the end of the Justice League's first big outing or something. I mean, well, anyway, at the end of that, after the Batman versus Superman movie, I would have segued into the Wonder Woman movie because you already had the picture. I wouldn't have went straight to the Suicide Squad, but I mean, I guess you could have because it could have segued that way because you had Batman coming off of the Assault on Arkham movie, and you could have been playing all that destruction in the background and had Amanda Waller going, "Oh my God, blah 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 blah. We need Task Force X." So it would have added more substance to the Suicide Squad characters if there would have been a Batman movie first, like especially the Assault on Arkham, like because you could have had time with those characters. The only one we wouldn't have known is possibly Deadshot if he wasn't the one getting apprehended. You could have started Suicide Squad with Deadshot being apprehended. And then, I mean, you could have still did the whole segue that Amanda Waller did with, showing the folders with all their backstories and showed the little clips, especially for the ones that you didn't see Batman bust in Assault on Arkham. But it would have taken a lot of that time out and gave it more to the actual movie itself and developing the characters. And Wonder Woman, I don't have anything bad to say about that movie. But if they did not have faith in the characters enough to give Cyborg his own standalone movie after Wonder Woman, you could have made a Flash and Cyborg movie. Or if you just wanted to have the Flash have his, because I would have just gave the Flash his own damn movie and introduced him right after Wonder Woman and gave Flash his own movie. And then if you didn't have faith in Cyborg or Aquaman enough to give them their own movie, you could have made a Superman versus Brainiac movie before, he died, and had Cyborg be the one that helped save the day because he's the tech guy, that turns his arms and hooks into whatever. I mean, you could have had him be the one that needed to help him against Brainiac. And then after that movie, we could have jumped into, because there's already been a Flash and a Superman movie since then, we could have jumped right back into Wonder Woman 2. And if you didn't have faith in Aquaman, if you didn't give Aquaman his own movie after the Superman Brainiac movie, then if you weren't going to tell the awesome story that, because that was an amazing movie. Aquaman was a great movie. Superb. But if you didn't have faith in him, then you could have introduced him in Wonder Woman 2. Because, I mean, we were talking about the Atlanteans, and, I mean, you could have hinted at the Atlanteans all the way back in Wonder Woman 1, whenever she's talking to her sister about the world of men, and you could have a little conversation about how she's telling Diana about the world of men and talked about Atlantis and all the great, there used to be 3 tribes, the Atlanteans, the Amazons, and then the men. And I mean, you could have done it several different ways, but you didn't. So, if you weren't going to give Aquaman a movie on his own because you didn't have faith before, they showed, then you could have introduced him in Wonder Woman 2. And at this point, you have all of the 6 that you introduced. So you could have either, like, if you weren't going to give the Flash his own movie, and if that movie wasn't on the ticket, you could have introduced him in a Batman 2 right before Justice League and had it all segue into Justice League. And the Batman 2 could have introduced Flash as the criminal investigator who was over from Central City helping the Gotham PD or something, and then he was secretly the Flash going around helping Batman, and then it could have all came out at the end. I mean, what I'm saying is, if you can't tell the story, if you don't have enough faith in these characters to introduce them by themselves, and you want to do it in a team-up movie, don't blow your load in the first Justice League movie and introduce them all at once. That was... because no one gave a shit about half of these characters. And it's not because they're not cool, because they're all written well, they're all played by decent actors. But no one knew who they were. No one gave 2 shits. I mean, I liked Ray Fisher as Cyborg, but no one cared about Cyborg in that movie until they got to know him. Like, simple as that. You could have introduced him as a side character in a Batman movie, a Superman movie, all of it before Justice League, so that whenever Justice League came time, the first half of the movie wasn't, them all assembling. You could have had that, but you could have had it like the same threat worldwide, like Steppenwolf showing up. And then you could have had him calling parademons and trying to find the mother boxes, blah, 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 all over the world. So you have the original Trinity meet up, and then they're all like, well, hey, I know a guy. Hey, I know a guy. Hey, I know a guy. I mean, and then they could have all been, more cohesive. Like, it would have worked better. Especially if you would have done a Batman and Flash movie going into Justice League, because they'd still be together. You could have had the end credit scene be them fighting a bunch of parademons, and then going, holy crap, and then Superman landing, and like, hey, Bruce, blah, 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 blah. And then one of them could have been like, shit, we should call Diana and see if she knows anything. I mean, you could have told a better story throughout all of it. Superman, Man of Steel, introduced the concept of aliens in this universe. You could have had little things littered throughout all of them, like that Batman scene to where he's fighting the parademon. You could have had that in the Assault on Arkham movie somewhere. And then him trying to figure it out through all the rest of the movies. Like, you could, and it would have, because, I mean, what was the point of Suicide Squad? They were not in Justice League at all. None of them. None of them. And I know what you're thinking, but Church, none of the Guardians were in the first 2, none of the Guardians were in the first 2 Avengers movies, but still, there was seriously no point to any of it. Besides it being a pretty decent, somewhat okay movie. And if you wanted to do like the world building type stuff, you could have done it after the first initial Justice League and just told all these movies like Suicide Squad 1 and 2 that are coming out, Birds of Prey, all these other little movies that just world build. You could have done that after the initial Justice League and built the world out around your core characters. Because in the Flash movie, like, if you were going to do the Flash before Suicide Squad, at the beginning or end, you could have shown him arresting, catching Captain Boomerang. Or you could have done that after the Justice League movie, and then that would have been a pretty awesome way to introduce Captain Boomerang to the rest of the squad. Because, like, right now, it just doesn't make sense. It was just Amanda Waller going, I've been keeping. I mean, don't get me wrong, Amanda Waller is a brilliant character in the comics, and she could have done it this way. But, I mean, if you want it to make a little bit more sense, because as it stands, like Justice League, I liked it, but there was a lot of things that did not fit with the other movies. Like, you have Jason Momoa already having his, trident and his outfit, but that's what the whole Aquaman movie is about, him finding his trident and his armor, pretty much. I mean, he goes up against these Lovecraftian deep ones, and then spoiler alert, and then he winds up finding this ancient thing that from the first Atlantean king. Like I said, it was a great movie, but I don't really understand all of it. It's the only one I don't own that I need to buy and watch again. But that's just my take. And if you were gonna do it, if you would have done it that way, and then Ben Affleck was still like, hey, I want to step away and not be Batman. You can all get somebody else. If you're gonna then after you have a Flash movie or two, because at this point you had the Flash, or at least the Flash and Batman. If you would have done both of them, it would have been great because then the whole Flashpoint movie would have had more weight because you've had more time with Barry Allen. You've had him in his own movie. You've had him in the Batman movie. You had him in the Justice League movie. I mean, it would have segued. It would have fit better to have a Flashpoint movie to reset the universe and add Pattinson in there, and you could have had Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Batman in there as a cool little, like in between. I mean, we could have started the movie out with Ben Affleck as Batman, right? You could have had a little scene with him and Barry, having a conversation, and Barry going, like, thanks for everything, blah, 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 blah. I have friends now, because, I mean, that's the way they're going with the Flash in the Justice League universe, is he feels like he has no friends because his mind works too fast for everyone else. Which, don't get me, I like it. It's a different take. I mean, because if someone's mind worked that fast, he'd probably feel a little, excluded from the rest of the group anyway. So I mean, it was a pretty good little, way to work. I mean, but then that could have been like him going, I want to see how fast I can get back to Central City. Blah 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 blah. Well, as he's running, oops, I reset everything. Bruce, shut the hell up. My name's Thomas Wayne. Boom, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And then when he goes to fix it, boom, Pattinson. And that's how I would end it. Like, Bruce, you're a lot younger than you were when I left, or it could have been like the Flashpoint movie could have been the d.c.e.u.'s version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Because that show is supposed to fix everything in DC TV and make it all more cohesive and write out the stuff that doesn't work and write in stuff that does work. Blah, I say blah, blah, blah a lot. Blah, 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 blah. I do not say blah, 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 blah. No one? Hotel Transylvania? Alright, whatever. But perhaps I'm just a stickler for a good story, and as much as I liked the story they've told so far, it could have been a lot better. But the Batman by Robert Pattinson seems to be coming along rather well. And I know what you're thinking. Robert Pattinson is Batman. Blah. Well, you know what? We've had a lot of great Batman. Michael Keaton. Then we had. Oh yeah, that guy. I think we all want to forget about that and that, especially that. But then we had Christian Bale, who rocked it in the Dark Knight trilogy. Awesome. So far we've had Keaton and Christian Bale. Awesome. Then we had Ben Affleck show up out of nowhere and just kill that shit. Like, I'm sorry. The scene in Batman vs. Superman was the most Batman-y fight scene I've seen in a movie, and it was awesome. Awesome. So, they're getting better with Batman. I'm just hoping they continue that trend, and Robert Pattinson is more like, and not like, but we'll see. We'll see. Alright, guys. I've had a lot of fun with this one. I hope y'all did too. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications. Visit my Teespring. Pick you up a shirt, maybe a hoodie, whatever you're into. Or whatever else I get bored and design and throw in there. Because it's more than just merch now. I am trying to build a line of stuff that's just cool. So, take a look. And I'll see you next time. And am I the only one who wants to know where the hell Hal Jordan is during all of Justice League? Like, not even a little after credit scene or nothing.